Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fortress Comic News, episode 109. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside the dance master, Mike.
I was going to say wacky inflatable armband, Mike, but did you ever see those things that where you go to buy a car at a...
Yeah, but ever since that Family Guy episode, I can't say it because they say it 1,000 times really fast, and it just fucks with my brain now.
See, I haven't watched enough Family Guy to know that. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Family Guy.
I watched an episode or two.
Just a couple.
Yeah.
Today on the show, Miles Greb, returning guest back from if you were a fan back in episode 30 something, episode 33.
Yeah.
Now you're it's finally paid off. He's coming back and he wants to talk more about After the Gold Rush. We have issue 5 coming out, and it's like we're building continuity into the show now. So we got to watch what we do, watch what we say.
So everybody, make sure you tweet him after you listen to the interview and tell him how much you love talking about Star Wars, especially Last Jedi.
Jedi, for sure.
Tell him that the Patriots suck. Okay, that's it.
Awesome. So no further ado, because we want to get to him. Let's get into the news.
We got some housekeeping.
Oh, I skip over that. Boring. Okay, let's hear it. Everybody settle in.
Okay, so rearranging the show a little bit because I like money. So everybody, we always do it at the end of the show, but remember, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/fortresscomicnews. It's a great place to support the show, and I will be launching my new podcast through that soon. I'm thinking next week. So anyone that goes to there is going to get the show early, and then I'm going to launch it on 2 separate feeds. It's going to get its own feed, and then I'm going to launch it through this feed. So next week you'll get an extra episode of me talking about Batman the Animated Series. And then we got that banner on our website, Amazon banner. So if you guys have anything to buy on Amazon, go to fortresscomicnews.com, check out all our cool stuff there, and click on the banner and purchase things, especially things that say Patriots suck on it.
I don't support that. If you need to buy other stuff, please go there.
Now we can talk about the damn news.
Awesome. TV news. So, what everybody's been asking, is it true? Oh, I know you've been wanting another Walking Dead show. AMC's developing a 3rd Walking Dead show. Because they said, you know what? We're taking away all the characters everybody loved and cared about. Let's just add a show. That's what needs to happen. That's what we're missing.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I won't watch it, but I wonder if it's more intriguing for people to watch a show like this with new characters than to follow these characters, because we're in season 10?
Maybe this is the show they're just going to jump ship to if they that's how they transition. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing at this point.
It's all messy because now we got Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, whatever this show is. We got a trilogy of movies starring Rick Grimes coming out.
What if it's instead of Fear the Walking Dead, it's Love the Walking Dead, and it's just a show about people that
zombies?
I mean, you took it there, but I was gonna say I don't know, maybe they'd worship the zombies or just care for the zombies, raise them in like cows. I don't know.
No, we're gonna follow the Whisperers, and we all know the Whisperers are banging those zombies. I mean, come on.
Chris just wants to see someone bang a zombie on Walking Dead.
I do. Somebody could send me a link to that because I'm sure
I'm honestly surprised it hasn't happened. It's been 10 seasons? They're got to run out of shit to write about. Come on, this sells itself, Kirkman. Take our ideas.
God damn it, Kirkman.
Anyways, let's talk about something I actually care about. The Detective Pikachu trailer number 2 came out this week, and I'm still really excited for this movie. The question came up really quick before we talk about the trailer. That is this based off the game, or is it just they're just using the character?
It's loosely based. Well, there is a game called Detective Pikachu.
Uh-huh.
It's in this room somewhere, but so it's based on that. It's not following the same plot thread as that, other than the fact that there's a character named John. I already forgot the lead character's name. Oh, the lead character exists. There's a Detective Pikachu with a Sherlock Holmes hat, and they're looking for the kid's father. Other than that, it looks like they're not following the same exact route, but yeah.
Okay, so the second trailer, I really enjoyed it. We get a lot more Pokemon in this one too. Which ones were you excited about? I don't know a lot of the names, but I think they all just look really cool.
I'm excited for all of them. I think they look fantastic. I remember when this was announced, especially when Ryan Reynolds was connected to it. I think I was very cynical about it. Like, this is gonna be awful. There's no way this is gonna work.
He's Deadpool. You can't be a Pikachu. He's in the Deadpool movies. Yeah.
And I couldn't be more wrong. So this movie looks fantastic. I'm super excited. I've been a Pokemon fan my entire life. I'm so excited. There's a new game coming out soon.
Let's talk about that really quick.
And I have picked the perfect time to start finishing up my comic book that's loosely based on Pokemon. So, yeah, it's been exciting for...
Yeah, they just announced the new Pokemon games, the Sword and Shield.
Yeah, they did.
Maybe I'll buy that. I don't know. It looks pretty cool. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll invest in that one.
I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I've played most of them, even like the wacky side games that they make. Mm-hmm. So to have like a full-fledged RPG that is on the quote-unquote core Pokemon, I'm all about it. And the setting is perfect. Like, bring it to Britain, so basically we're fighting Pokemon in Hobbit Town. Like, I'm down. Bring it on.
Awesome. So really, we still haven't finished the big reveal in the trailer, though. I've seen the trailer. They reveal that Mew is going to be in the movie. Mewtwo, sorry. Mewtwo. I'm sure they'll have a Mew somewhere, but that's from what I remember, it's pretty OP Pokemon to release. I'm guessing it's gonna revolve around like the end fight scene or something like that, but that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to be the final villain. And it's kind of funny that this came out, and then like later in the week, they still do the animated movies. And they showed the first CG animated movie that's a remake of the original Pokemon movie, the Mewtwo one.
Yeah.
And it's just like watching this and then that. I was just so disappointed by the animated one because seeing Mew in this just looked amazing. So,
yeah.
My biggest hope for all this, though, is that we get an after credits scene, and all I see in that after credits scene is a silhouette of a person, and then you can just see the hat, and he just spins the hat backwards and then cut. Because that'll mean that the rumors are true, and they're going to make a movie based on actual Pokemon trainers.
Dude, I just got chills. Did you just come up with that on your own, or did you read that on a forum? Because, like...
I've been thinking about that for months now. Like,
take my money. I just want to pay Chris lots of money just to do that. So listen up. Take his idea because that was awesome. I got goose pimples right now. Like,
listen, my entire comic that I'm working on right now is based on Pokemon fan fiction. So, I've been deep into this lore for a while.
I can't get out. I didn't choose this.
No escape.
Awesome. Okay, I think we kind of talked about that enough. Let's talk about a shitty trailer now. X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer number 2. Hot piece of garbage.
Does not look good.
And this is coming off of, what was the last one? Apocalypse? Age of Apocalypse?
Which was not good.
Which they should have stopped at Days of Future Past. Like, First Class, Days of Future Past, done. Just end it, you know?
Yeah, except Days of Future Past was a whole like kind of retcon to make these new movies.
Yeah, I know. And then they're gonna have to do Days of Future Past 2, and they're gonna have to go back and retcon it again.
Listen, this is the last Fox X-Men movie we're gonna get. It looks like the deal between Fox and Marvel is pretty much closed, and all the red tape is gone. I know they're still working out a few little things, but this is the last one, and then we can finally let Kevin Feige do what he needs to do with X-Men.
Yeah.
And stop getting these awful movies with a bad actress who played in a bad TV show called Game of Thrones.
Ooh. Well, I'm not even gonna bite at that. Okay.
Oh, shit, all of our subscribers just left. I love Game of Thrones, guys.
So... with that being said, we're going to switch to an awesome interview with Miles Greb, talk about After the Gold Rush, and we'll see everybody on the other side. Hopefully, if you're still listening.
Welcome back, everybody. This week we got a special guest, a returning guest, Miles Greb. Welcome to the show, Miles.
Me. Yeah, good to be back on, guys. I'm talking.
Yeah, Yeah, he's about to say good to have us because we're actually on his podcast today. Whoa! No, just kidding. Welcome back, dude. It's been a whole 70-something episodes.
Yeah, man.
Since you've been here.
A lifetime.
Yeah, it might as well be. We're in the triple digits now.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Going long.
Yeah, even if there's nobody listening anymore, we're still chugging away.
Well, your moms are listening, probably, and they're very proud.
I hope not. Oh God.
So I got to compliment the blue slime in the background.
Oh yeah, he's a comfy guy.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's all.
So, I mean, since it's been such a long time since you've been on the show, we'd like to hear your origin story again. Just if you want to give a cliff note version of just how you got into making comics, where these ideas came from. Then we'll start talking about some projects.
Yeah, so I grew up in Northern California, and not like where people say Northern California, they mean the middle. I mean like the north part of California, so like in the woods, and like I grew up
in a cabin.
yeah, I mean not entirely untrue. And I grew up watching a lot of like original Star Trek and reading like Dune and Isaac Asimov and stuff. So I kind of have this love of both like the woods and then like classic sci-fi. And so like eventually I moved to Seattle because I was sick of being in a small town. Mm-hmm. And I started like going to Comic-Con a lot. And like I mentioned, I'm really into like Carl Sagan and that kind of like secular humanism, and I didn't really see any comic books talk about that kind of subject matter. Whenever there's like a skeptic character, they always kind of get punished for their skepticism. Right. Like if somebody's like, "Oh, there's no ghosts over there," that person's gonna get killed by a ghost.
Yeah, they're dead. They're dead
every damn time. When like in reality, ain't no one ever been killed by no ghosts. So yeah, or skeptics are normally seen as cynical, or like atheist characters can never just be atheists. They always got to like talk about it all the damn time. It has to be like a huge part of their identity,
right?
Or like they have to like pay for it in some way. And so I just wanted to create a comic that was different than that and kind of buck those themes. And also my second kind of goal was I was really tired of the dystopian sci-fi. Like every single thing was like, oh man, we're gonna build this new iPhone, and the iPhone's gonna kill us. or
it's kind of happening today, honestly, though.
Well, yeah, I can never sleep anymore because my damn phone.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong, and I should stop like books. Or they'll be like, oh man, we cured this disease and worked so hard on it, and then everyone became a zombie and ate each other's brains. And I'm just like, but that's not the way it really goes. We actually do make things better. Like life expectancies are up, poverty's down, hunger's down. I mean, that don't mean there are not a lot of problems in the world. Okay. I mean, there's still the Cleveland Browns existing out there. There's a bunch of hardship.
Yeah, but, now that's a hardship nobody wants to
science can't save the Cleveland Browns. They've just been tried. It's a strong tool, but it's just there's some voodoo there that can't be hexed.
Hey, if math saved the Chicago Cubs, I think science can save the Cleveland Browns.
Man, that Cubs World Series was awesome, man. Even my buddy who don't watch baseball, we put that on, and that was just great. I was happy for him. So
I was happy for the Cubs too. Not so happy for the Eagles, but hey.
I don't know about the Eagles.
Chris has to remind me with his hat every day. So you wanted to put a change on the whole sci-fi tropes that are out there.
Yeah, I just wanted to show science as a positive force for change instead of something to be fearful. It's kind of like the opposite of Black Mirror,
right? Where it's terrifying all the time.
Yeah, I kind of refer to Black Mirror as like Luddite pornography.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I get that. Yeah. It's like, oh, there's all this new technology, but now it's going to kill everyone. It's like none of it can be used for good ever.
Yeah, that's pretty much that show.
Yeah. So, and with that, you kind of got. I mean, you definitely demonstrated that feel and that genre you're talking about with After the Gold Rush, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
It's like my life's work. So
right, exactly. So let's hear the plot synopsis of that.
Sure, yeah. So After the Gold Rush follows Scout, and she's the last scientist. And she returns to Earth to find it in a state of wilderness. But it's not post-apocalyptic. Something else has happened. And so she has to try to figure out what that is and return science to the world. And the thing about Scout is she grew up on Titan, which is one of the moons of Saturn.
Yep.
She was learning to become a biologist and a chemist with her mother and father. But something went wrong in their expedition, so her ship, the Beagle 2, takes her back to Earth. But she's never been there, of course, before, and she's expecting to be this kind of like Star Trek utopia. Mm-hmm. So when she gets there, she's really confused. Like, her instrumentation's telling her it's Earth, but it's kind of hard to accept that because she's just so confused about what's going on. And the people there that still exist are very superstitious, very religious, and are kind of stuck in this agrarian paradigm. And so she doesn't really know how to communicate with them because she's never encountered pseudoscience or alternative medicine. She's never encountered religion. It's never been brought up to her. And so when like somebody does something like use an egg by the door to cure you because apparently the spirits will take the egg instead of you, like she doesn't think, oh, well, that's a bunch of bullshit. Mm-hmm. She's like, wow, how does that work?
Right. You know?
Because she assumes they'd be acting rationally. And so she kind of has to come to terms with these ideas that people don't always act with, like a materialistic worldview. And then she's the last person who knows the scientific method, right? She's the last one. Right. And so the story is about her coming to terms with the world, meeting the characters there, dealing with the way their society's set up, and then trying to find a way to bring science back to the world.
Awesome.
Yep.
And now, I mean, when we first talked, we were I think there was only one issue out, maybe one or two, and now we have 4 issues out, right?
Yeah. So the first 4 are out, and the 5th is being drawn right now. I have pages in my inbox from the artist this morning, and it's up on Kickstarter right now. So we have the first one, Scout kind of comes back. Second one, she meets some people. Third one, she meets a dog. So that's a good issue.
Sold.
Yep, right. Fourth one, the kind of the action builds up a little bit. She kind of meets our main antagonist. And then the 5th book is a giant size issue. It's going to be 32 pages. Because it's kind of the conclusion of the first arc of the story.
Okay.
And that's the one on Kickstarter right now. So I'm really excited about that because, we've got a pretty good reception of the book so far. So I felt like I could up the budget a little bit and do a 32-page issue. Because I didn't really want to cut anything. I wanted it to end the way I wanted to end. So I'm pretty excited about it. And I think we're doing pretty good on Kickstarter. Let's see, where are we at right now?
Yeah, you're at almost 4,200 out of 5,000 with like the whole month to go.
Yeah, so that's good. So we're going strong there. So
that's awesome. Yeah. It's great to see that. I mean, even with that backing, you definitely developed a fan base here, right? For this,
yeah. I mean, people seem to like After the Goldrush, which is good. Like I said, it's kind of like my life's work. So
yeah. So where do you gonna go from here? Do you think? Do you have a big story arc planned? I mean, past these 5 issues.
I have 2 versions of the story. One's a 15-issue story, and one's a 25-issue story.
Okay.
It's kind of depending on like how long it takes to get them out, and I mean, they've all been selling, so it's not really a sales thing. It's just kind of if I feel it should be longer or shorter. Mm-hmm. But I'll start on issue 6 as soon as we get issue 5 out. So. But I'm really excited for this one because, like I said, I've been very cryptic with a lot of the parts of the story, and a little bit more of it gets peeled back here, and you get to see there's a bit more action in this issue, and things kind of come to a head. And the way that it's been set up so far changes. So a lot's going to happen in number 5. Another thing is, if we should get lucky enough to get hella money, if we get 20K on this Kickstarter,
oh boy.
I'll finally print that trade paperback everyone's been wanting me to do.
Thank God.
Yeah, people have been complaining about that for years. The thing is, I mean, just the reality of the comics, it cost me, several $1,000s to pay for all the art.
Right.
And then it's several $1,000s to print the thing. And then it's like $2,000 to ship it to everybody.
Wait, it costs money to make comics? Get out of here.
Yeah. So to print a trade would mean I'd have to pay, like before issue 5, right? I'd have to pay for the art for 2 issues, and then we'd have to wait for it to get done and then print it. And, just a lot of work and capital. But now that 5 is done, if we get the budget, I can finally print the trade. So we are almost at 5K in 2 days. So maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's definitely the most funded for Kickstarter. I mean, Chris and I, we don't like to brag, but we have 100% success rate with Kickstarters that have appeared on the show. So
I won't let you guys down.
I mean, this one's probably already sold itself. It looks like I don't think you needed our help at all. But we'll definitely be sharing this on our page for you to get the word out there.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, guys.
Yeah. So
for
before
sure.
this, you had I believe Puck the Artist was the last.
Yeah.
And that was a webcomic that you're now printing. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Puck the Artist is a book that Garrett and I are working on. We're co-creating it. He actually developed all these sketches of all these really cool characters.
Mm-hmm.
The titular hero, Puck, and just this whole world of random drawings. They just kind of had a name written next to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, Miles, what is this? and I was like, oh, I'll tell you what that is. And I don't know, his work was really kind of inspiring. Like, it just kind of made me want to tell a story about it. Mm-hmm. So, I changed up some of the names, and we picked some of the best designs and kind of reworked them together. And then we made the story, Puck the Artist. And it's a story about a world where everything that exists is drawn into existence. But color has been lost. But the people of the world don't know that. And the kind of the course of the events of the story is they stumble upon the existence of color. And then it's kind of like, what do they do with the responsibility of finding it? Should they be the ones who have to return it? And then people expect them to be some kind of chosen kids because they found the color. But they're like, we're not the damn chosen kid. This is just a happenstance. And so it's a pretty fun adventure story. And the webcomic, we can read the first 32 pages of the story for free. It's on Tapas webcomic app or Webtoons, and it's just called Puck the Artist. And most of it's in black and white because that's like the story. Mm-hmm. But there is some color in the book, and you'll see some really cool effects when the color actually enters in the story. So it's definitely worth checking out. And we kickstarted that a while ago and got that funded. So we will be making a graphic novel of the entire first story. So it's kind of like Star Wars. Like New Hope's kind of works as its own thing, right? You don't need Empire and Jedi, right? But you want them. So that's kind of how Puck the Artist is. Like the first book will be a complete story on its own, but it's obviously that more can go down. But we get that turned in. We're already like 64 pages deep into that, so we're working hard on Puck the Artist. I'm not. I already read the script. I turned it into Garrett, but he's drawing it. So
he's got to spend a little time drawing it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is in comics. Somebody's like, "Why are you doing another comic? The other comic's not done." I'm like, "Well, I wrote it.
I'm done."
I mean, like I gotta check the pages when they turn them in and like comment on them and stuff. But I mean, like I can do multiple books. Other people got to draw them.
Yep. I mean, it makes sense. But how could you work on multiple projects at once? Come on, Jeff Lemire has like 12 books come out every month. That guy's great, and they're all good. He's one of those, and like Donnie Cates keeps adding more and more books that he's releasing. I remember. So if I remember correctly, last time you're a pretty big Star Wars fan, right?
He used to be.
Oh, yeah. I don't think so. I don't think we got to talk about. We definitely talked about Force Awakens, I think, when you were on the show the first time. And then I don't think we got to talk about Last Jedi. But from what I remember, I don't know. I don't think you would have enjoyed Last Jedi, right?
Do we have to talk about that?
No. I had this question this week, and I wanted to bring it up to you guys. So it's not anything like canon about Star Wars. It's just about the original trilogy. Okay. We were talking at work about like your top 3 best movies, and someone brought it up to me that they're like, okay, well, obviously Empire, and I'm like, I don't know, for as far as top 3 movies go, and like you kind of said it in the interview too, that I mean, you need A New Hope to have Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it goes hand in hand. So is it kind of unfair to have Empire as like your top 3 movies or like top movie of all time, and like kind of just you're kind of waving away New Hope and all the work that it built up, right?
I mean, if the topic's kind of like how to judge films, especially films that are kind of like a watershed moment in storytelling that like create a new universe. Right. I mean, I think if you're just talking about your personal favorites, I mean, you could say whatever the fuck you want. You could say Ewok Adventures. You know,
Nobody
people,
said that.
people might judge you for it because it's not like a value judgment. It's just a personal thing, you know.
Right.
But I mean, like, if you're trying to be objective, the AFI American Film Institute puts A New Hope up there, not Empire. You know, because A New Hope did the work, right?
Yeah.
And it's really what made film because like the editing in that is so amazing. Like there's so much good film work that went into making Star Wars.
Right.
I mean, Empire like took the emotional and kind of almost spiritual depth of Star Wars to like another degree. I think that's why we all responded to it so well because the first movie is this really good adventure story that popped out in the 70s of all these cynical heroes that were just shooting everybody and being kind of crass. And then Luke's like, hey, I'm a good person. That's swell. You know? And
come on over here.
and we all liked it, and it was this really cool adventure, you know, in space with like the samurai Hitler and everything.
Yeah.
And then Empire, you know, you get this little green guy that's just like, yo, bitch, you gotta learn to become a mystic. And Luke's like, that's rough. And he's like, I don't give a shit. You know, you got to lift that rock, man. Focus on your heart. And, like, it just kind of took the story to a different level. And that's why I think we all love Empire so much, because it's, like, more emotionally mature. But, I mean, A New Hope made the language. So I feel like A New Hope is probably the better film in a vacuum.
Right.
But, you know, the films don't exist in a vacuum to us. So I think that's why we respond to Empire more.
True. I mean, first off, I need an animated version of how you sum up like the two movies. I want like you voicing the characters. I need and this little green bitch comes over. It's like
I'm just repeating the facts, man.
Yeah, it's just what happened. I guess it kind of goes with how you're judging like your top movies of all time, right? Is it purely for like the cinematography and stuff like that? Or are you like? But I think most people are into it. I think it has to include like the weight of the characters and everything, and that's all. I mean, it starts in the first movie, right?
I mean,
the foundation starts there.
The big three are in the beginning. I mean, right? Like Empire doesn't introduce them, so I mean they're established in New Hope. Empire just builds upon that, so that's why I think it's probably fair to say A New Hope is really a foundation. We just take it for granted.
Yeah. And that's all the Star Wars talk I'll torture you with today.
I do not want to talk about The Last Jedi.
Yeah, we're not going there, I promise. Okay.
This is my opinion on The Last Jedi. This is the only thing I'll say. I'll just say this instead.
Heir to the Empire.
That's all I have to say about that.
Chris knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know those non-canon stories.
You son of a bitch.
So let's go on possibly a more positive note. You're a huge Dune fan.
Yeah.
Now, you're the other Dune fan that I know in this world because it's me, my father, and you. You've been hearing about all this casting and everything going on. What's your opinion of Dune coming back to the big screen?
I think that Dune is not well suited to be made into a film. Dune is an extremely subtle critique. That's kind of like how it's set up. It uses the kind of mostly Western like hero archetype to set up this event, only to use that like the event that's normally a story, right? Of Paul coming down, being a fish out of water, being accepted, becoming like the savior, saving the day against the Empire. That's kind of like what you normally have for a story. That story is actually just kind of a feint. It's like a trick to get the reader to invest in it, only so that the other 5 books can kind of riff on that. Mm-hmm. And so it's a very like brilliantly told story. I don't think works in the film medium because the film medium has demands that a novel can't. A novel can take its time with the scene and have all the like kind of thoughts of the characters there, all the subtle intrigue of people trying to level each other and pick up on minute details of how each other thinks. But a film kind of has to be paced a lot quicker. And a film can't really like kind of mock and trick its audience the way Dune does. Mm-hmm. I don't think. And I don't know if a film with like a $500 million budget is going to be able to kind of stand up for Dune. I think it's going to have to stand up for its budget. And I don't have a lot of hope that the film will be able to do that. But, maybe I'm wrong, and that'd be great.
I think the problem I'm starting to see is like it sounds like most of that budget is going towards their cast because it's like every day I see a famous they're getting big names are going to this movie.
Yeah, I also think that's a mistake. I mean, I'm not a casting director, so I'm not an expert in casting, but my bias would be that it's when you're making a fantasy universe, like something that's expansive, it's much better to hire a decent amount of lesser known actors because, I mean, you don't want to bring the baggage of well-known actors to the roles. You want the universe to look different. I mean, I think the Paul casting is probably good, because he's not a super well-known actor.
Right.
But the second most prominent character in all of Dune is Duncan Idaho. And they've selected for Duncan Idaho a person who's not well known for his acting ability. I think that's a huge mistake. And I don't know. I don't have a positive reaction to the cast. But I haven't seen them act the roles. We all doubted Heath Ledger could be the Joker.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not confident that it's bad, but my initial reaction is it doesn't really get me up for the movie. I'm considering not seeing it. I don't know. I like film. Film's a very powerful medium, but everything doesn't have to be adapted into a film. It's not a better medium than books or comics. It's just a different one. And
I think I mean, I had the same feeling about The Dark Tower when they made that a movie. Yeah,
it's not going to work into a film.
Right.
It's not how it's designed. I mean, some stories aren't kind of told in their medium. They just use it. They could work or anything. Arthurian legend stories are kind of set up in a way that they don't need either film or book or comic. The story beats are going to work. But some stuff, it really needs either its visuals or it needs its time in the characters' heads. And those just don't transfer that well to certain stuff. And that's okay. Film doesn't need to be treated like you're a big success once you have a film.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I mean, it's not that I don't like movies. I like movies, but I don't know. I'm just kind of tired of it being like a comic's treated like a success if it has a good film. And it's not the way that I think about stories. So.
Unfortunately, as we were going to talk in the main show, it seems like with the big two at least, the comics need to become a film to stay alive.
Yeah. I mean, that's also disappointing because the movie versions of comic book characters are just kind of lesser versions of themselves. They have less intrigue, mention, and so I don't dislike the films, but it just feels kind of weird. Analogy I often make is Marvel movies are your friend says, "Hey, let's come over and watch football and have some pizza," but they have a microwave pizza and it's Canadian football, and you're like, okay, it's not the worst, but could be better.
I mean, I agree. You're definitely as good as those movies are. You're still lacking from what, the years the comics have built into those characters.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many little things that can show up in the books that are surprising or fun or reward you for reading for 20 years.
Right.
And that are just not there in the movies. Or there's just so many less villains because they don't have time, right? It's you can't ever have that scene where Cap walks in a room and 20 of his villains are there. Oh shit!
Yeah. What kind of meeting's this?
Well, I mean that stuff happens in comics and then it's cool, But they can never get the Sinister Six, for example, to work in a movie. It just doesn't. You don't have time.
Yeah.
But the Sinister Six is the best Spider-Man annual,
Yeah. Yep.
But it doesn't transfer.
But you gotta, you need, everybody's gotta have an origin movie, and then it's or else everyone's really confused. And
so in a comic, right, if you have the Vulture fly in and kick Spider-Man in the dick, you can look at that panel for more than 20 seconds if you want to. You'd be whoa, the Vulture's here. But in a movie, you're whoa, Vulture's here, next scene. And you just got to quick, now the Shocker's here, and you don't have time to process it. And because of the damn Transformer movies or Bourne Ultimatum, every camera has to do this in those scenes.
Yeah,
you know, and so it's all kind of filmed ugly. And then there's all this stuff that's happening. People are like, nope, they just nope out of it. But in a comic book, you can see the visuals at your own pace, and so it works to have 6 weird colored half animal people jump in and fight a spider person.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
Well, the continuity thing, like you said, like being around and reading comics for so long, it's why I always have a problem with people recommending Kingdom Come to newcomers. Because I'm like, Kingdom Come is a brilliant book, and everybody should read it. But you need to have knowledge of that universe before you jump into it. Or else
if you don't know who Captain Marvel is, the whole Superman choosing Captain Marvel at the end thing doesn't work as strongly.
Right. Yeah.
I recommend Marvels to people.
Yes.
Because Marvel's, like, I tell people, like, if you want to get into reading Marvel comics, some people tell you to start at like a modern thing, and I could be correct, but a lot of people who are going to ask that question have already watched like X-Men cartoon, so they kind of have like a general idea of how like the Claremont Uncanny run goes, but they may not have an idea of like the important or old Avengers books and kind of Silver Age stuff. So I'm like, if you read Marvels, you'll get like a kind of interesting look at like 60s and 70s Marvel, and then you'll be ready to like kind of touch up on the stuff from the 90s that you missed and get into it. So I always recommend that book. Plus, again, it's Alex Ross, and he draws all right.
Yeah, he's okay.
He's a sketchy guy.
Yeah, more painty than most, but and I agree. The Kingdom Come's tough, and I don't know.
It's really good though.
Yeah, it is really good. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the projects just so we don't lose track. Just to remind everyone. I had no way to segue in there. I just got excited about all the stuff we were talking about.
People should buy my book.
Right. So it's up on Kickstarter now. You have 28 days to go. So where can they find it? Where can they find this project?
It'll just be up on Kickstarter under comics, or if you go to my website, afterthegoldrush.space, there's a big banner of the cover art. It's just Scout, and she's holding an Archaeopteryx, which is my favorite dinosaur. And you can just click the banner, and that'll take you right to the Kickstarter.
Awesome. And they can go to that website to also get your comics as well, past issues and other books you've worked on, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so if you want to get Clovis, my paleontology comic, you can get it there, or Espers, my fantasy book, or you can read Puck the Artist there, or the After the Goldrush webcomics there, or my Dune comic is there, or some past podcasts or blogs that I've had, all my stuff. I don't know why people would want to read all that, but if you do...
I like to read it.
Speaking of Esther, man. Did you do I can't remember if we did a Kickstarter for issue 2 yet?
No issue 2. So Esper's is kind of weird. It didn't do like as hot on Kickstarter as a lot of my stuff does. And so I only printed like 1,000 issues of it, but then I sold that 1,000 issues like at the first 2 cons I went to with it. So I don't have any Espers. So I don't know what to do with that book. I have a script for number 2 written, but Chris Lewis Lee, the artist for the first one, he's getting paid a lot more to do video game work now. So he's busy. So I'm trying to find a different artist for number 2. So working on that. I'll figure it out. And I probably, when I do a number 2, I'm going to print number 1 and number 2 together in like a big thick issue, so I don't have to print number 1 by itself anymore.
Awesome. Well, we love to have you back on if you're going to throw it up on Kickstarter or something.
Sure.
Like that.
Yeah, I mean, I like that story a lot, but there's no human characters in it, so I think maybe it was harder to pitch. But it sold well. People like it. After all, I don't know. That book did weird for me, but I like it. So
it was fun. Well, it's way different than the other stuff I've read by you, so I did enjoy it though.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to hear, man.
So, other than the website, where else can people find you and follow you?
Well, I'm on that Twitter stuff.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Not the Twitter.
Anxiety-ridden site. People yelling at shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I have a buddy named Steve, right?
Right.
He's my good buddy. And so, he's been buying up all the reward tiers on my Kickstarter where we're like, we'll put your likeness in the book, right? He did one for Puck the Artist, and he did one for After the Gold Rush. He's just like a background character. But he was saying he was doing this because he's a Korean dude, and so basically he's going to be same Korean guy in like all my books. That way people think we're drawing the Korean guy the same way every time. So people on Twitter will yell at me and say I think that all Korean people look alike.
Oh no!
So he's plotting against me.
Oh man!
Yeah, so I was like, "Oh, thanks, bro.
Thanks, dude."
That's how you know he's a real friend, though.
Yeah, that's a true friend.
He's a good guy. That son of a bitch.
Well, shout out to Steve and Miles. Thanks for being on the show again, man.
Dude.
It's always fun talking to you.
Yeah, welcome back too. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Good to talk to you.
And like Luke Skywalker, we are back.
What? Wait, what?
Because he was gone, then he came back in Last Jedi.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. All right. We weren't sitting on an island in between takes, though. I wish. That'd be nice. Okay, let's get to comic book news. Okay, so Marvel teases an Avengers/Venom crossover. Okay, so before we even talk about this, let's talk about a man named Donny Cates.
The beautiful Donny Cates.
Did we talk about, I'm pretty sure this is months in advance. We've talked about, why don't they just give Donny Cates the Avengers? Right? Like, first off, why does he just write every book at Marvel? We wish. But we know he's currently writing Venom, right?
Yes.
And who's writing Avengers right now?
The great Jason Aaron.
I mean, this is a Donny Cates Jason Aaron crossover.
Two of the best at Marvel.
Also known as Chris's wet dream.
Two of my favorite writers in the industry right now.
This makes so much sense.
This is a huge year for Venom because they're doing a big crossover with Spider-Man and now this.
Right.
And yeah, like Donny Cates will get his chance to make a great Avengers book. I want to see Jason Aaron's run go through because what it's doing right now is the wackiest shit I've ever seen. I love it. But where I really want Donny to focus right now is to bring back the greatness of Cosmic Marvel, and he's doing a great job of that right now. So I'm fine with him taking over Guardians and Thanos and all that. But yeah, this book in particular, I will purchase it, especially if those two are working together on it.
Yeah, I mean, this just makes sense. It's awesome. They're like, we're selling so many of these books. How do we sell more? I have it. Like, I didn't even know how they're gonna like branch Avengers and like, why would the Avengers even care about a character like Venom? But I guess we're gonna find out. We'll see how it all comes together. So there's an online report saying that Disney is looking into shutting down Marvel Comics, but Disney and Marvel deny the rumor.
Yes, this is a non-story.
Yeah. I didn't even know how this even got started. Like, this is
so Bleeding Cool, the website that I don't talk about much for reasons.
Yeah, they're based out of England.
Yeah, they kind of started this rumor because there is a South by Southwest is having a panel with a couple of the big people over at Marvel, and it's called From the Page to the Screen, and it's talking about how comics influence the movies and this and that. And then it started to roll from there to be like, oh, this is them trying to plead with Marvel to keep the comics division open. And then somebody said, well, I have a rumor that says that Disney wants to close them. And I think Marvel's comment was the best, and I'm zoning on who it was exactly that tweeted it. But they retweeted that and said, well, it must be a slow news day because it's the dumbest comic book conspiracy I've ever heard.
Wow.
So there's your answer on whether this is happening. But this does bring up something I wanted to talk about, which is that the fact that sales, and the reason this rumor holds water is sales at both Marvel and DC have been dropping increasingly. We talked about last week where DC is cutting a bunch of books and trying to open new ones. So if you have friends that want to read comics, get them into comics so these companies can stop losing money, please.
Yeah, it's almost and I don't know how to fix this because I mean maybe this is coming down to the oversaturation of the market, but I don't know. New 52 brought so many more people though. You know, I think we need something like that.
I think we got a couple of problems. There is an oversaturation in the market where both companies are making too many books. Like, I'm going to say it, and people aren't going to like it, but certain characters don't deserve ongoing books.
Right.
Batgirl does not deserve an ongoing book. Black Widow does not deserve an ongoing book. Who's a male character so I'm not just trashing
Conan doesn't need 2 books.
Conan does not need 2 books.
I mean, they're great. Don't get me wrong, they're great. But like, who is to say that? I mean, there's
Luke Cage doesn't deserve an ongoing book. Iron Fist doesn't deserve an ongoing book. I mean, I understand the want for diversity in these characters and wanting a bunch of different stuff, but I would rather they go about and have core books that they're putting out, like choose a number, whatever that number is. Let's say 52. 52 was actually a really good number for that reboot. And those are your core books. And then give these characters minis and maxis. Like, I think DC actually, they're planning to cut down on the books and then they're still giving maxis and everything out. Like Freedom Fighters. I love Freedom Fighters. Freedom Fighters should not be an ongoing book.
Right.
And I think that's the better way to treat this. Another big thing is we as an industry and as fans need to get out of our own ass. And as much as I love Dark Knight's Metal, nobody like wants to read that isn't a huge comic fan.
Right.
Same with Crisis or Infinity Wars or these big crossovers. We really need to find a way to get people back in.
And we're talking about Justice League too. Like, if I'm a new person I'm a kid walking into a comic shop. Oh my god, the Justice League! I'm going to pick them up and be like, what is even happening in this book?
Yeah, so I see both companies doing positive things and negative things. Like I said, with DC trying to put out less books and do minis and maxis, that's positive. But the problem is that they're also going way too deep in their own continuity. And the thing with that is I love it, but other people aren't going to. Now, Marvel is doubling down and bringing out so many books every month, every week, and they don't need to. But the positive that they're doing is they're pushing younger readers through the IDW, Avengers, Black Panther, and Cap books. So there's a medium there somewhere, and I think both companies need to do both of these things: attract young readers and kind of minimalize your the books you're putting out every month. I also think that something like New 52 is needed again. More specifically at Marvel, I would like to see them do Ultimates again. And I would like to see DC almost reboot entirely, because some of the stuff they did over the past couple of years, as much as I loved it, is super confusing to the newcomers that came in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's time. I mean, it's been almost 10 years since the New 52, so
it's so tough because you're going to piss off all the fans. And people like us that go every week are going to be pissed off. So how many people do you gain? Yeah. If it's a good story, it's a good story. At the end of the day, if they reboot Cap and say that he was a Iraqi vet and then he got frozen in ice and was moved forward, well, it's not about how you reboot the origin, in my opinion. It's how you continue to uphold the legacy of the character and tell great stories moving forward. So I'm almost down for like company-wide reboots in both. As much as it would kind of hurt me because I'm a huge continuity nerd and I love how things throw back to things that happened 50, 60 years ago.
Now, that being said, though, like, don't reboot and then just give us like a Hawkman ongoing, because like it's not how you save the industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think Ultimates was so great, is at first it was a complete reboot and we had everything from square one. We didn't have the burden of continuity and we were able to tell these great stories. The problem is about 10 years in, you then had the burden of continuity. So it's snake that eats its own tail. But so I don't know the exact answer for it, but I mean, in the short run, that seems like a good idea.
Yeah. Well, those Walmart 100-page giant books that we said were exclusive, they had all those big name writers and artists on, are actually not exclusive anymore. They'll be available in comic book shops, and they're getting reprinted with new material. And how much new material? 48 pages of new material. So not only is it not exclusive to Walmart anymore, now you're getting new material out of the reprints. So
now they're worth buying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, they were 12 pages of new material for $5. And I guess if you're not a comic book guy like you or I, that's a cool idea because you get a bunch of cool stories in this one and some of it's new. But I went in there wanting to see Tom King do Superman and vice versa, Bendis do Batman.
Right.
The 12 pages, it doesn't justify my $5.
Right.
48 pages does justify my $5.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm down, and also I'm just down for helping the comic shops in any way possible.
Yep. And the last bit of news, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC for short. I'm not gonna lie, I was very confused with that text. You're like, AOC gets a comic. I'm like, I was like, I think it was like in the morning, and I was like, I don't know what he's talking about right now.
That's just how she's always spoken
about
in like the shows I listen to. So,
so Devil's Due publishing company, Devil's Due Comics, is doing a one shot. It's she's almost depicted like Wonder Woman. But yeah, so this, I guess one of the things of note for this comic, I mean, there's political comics out there. I mean, we talked about the Trump Space Force comic, which is pretty funny. The proceeds from this book are going to the USO, which is a nonprofit organization providing legal services to immigrant families and refugees. So it's pretty interesting.
Mike,
I just think oh, okay. You go ahead.
This book is a travesty, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Devil's Due, you still owe me 2 issues of Squarriors, and you're wasting your time on an AOC book? I demand Squarriors. And I demand it now.
If anybody remembers, Squarriors is an amazing book, by the way, and we had the writers on here. So the fact... Well, I mean, honestly, though, the minute they put this comic book out there, you know it's going to fly off the shelves.
So, at the end of the day, it's political commentary, and
right.
That has every right to be in comics. I mean,
right.
If you're watching the video, you can see a picture of Captain America punching Hitler in the face, which originally aired in a comic book years before America was in World War II. It was extremely controversial. So the long and short of that is comics have always been in politics and should be in politics. For me, though, I'm not getting political here at all, but in my political commentary, at least in comics, I like the ones that are a little bit more making fun of or kind of being negative about the subject almost, or just like kind of poking holes in it. This whole celebration of somebody isn't for me, but it's going to a great cause, and it's got some amazing creators attached to it. So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be, it says satirical adventures, so it's going to be like I would assume like a political cartoon, but I know reading the Trump Space Force one, it made both sides pretty hilarious to read about.
Well, I don't talk about.
And I think
I'm sorry.
I was going to say that I think that if Devil's Due makes his book extremely one-sided and doesn't make fun of the fact about both parties, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Is the problem. You're dividing your fan base, and that's just from a sales perspective. I mean, that's just a business. Like, the businessman in me is like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to isolate one fan base because everybody is entitled to their own opinion. So hopefully they do a funny spin on it. That's why I enjoyed the Trump Space Force one, is because like both sides were just being idiotic and ridiculous.
Yeah. And I don't talk about it often, but I read on a regular basis Trump's Titans, which is a book that turns Trump and Pence and a few of his other people into a superhero team. Mm-hmm. But it's super ridiculous. Like, they make fun of Pence's whole or who was it? One of the characters can only like spew lava because he can only talk hate, and Trump has all the powers because he's the greatest.
But
great. It's totally making fun of him, and then all the villains are like led by political figures, and they're making fun of it's that's the thing I like, is just like they're all ridiculous, just make fun of them all. And there's ways to do that. So that's just how I enjoy my political commentary. It doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to enjoy the same thing.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's a one shot, so we'll see how it goes. It is a note, though.
Cause too.
Right, yeah, the proceeds are going to charity. Jill Thompson and Jose Garibaldi are on it, and Jose Garibaldi helped write the second Lego movie that just came out. So,
oh really?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I saw Tim Seeley was on it, and I'm a big Tim Seeley
he's
guy.
doing he's a good artist. He's doing the variant cover, I think. Variant cover illustrated. Yeah, it's funny. He did a variant where she's like kind of looks like Wonder Woman, and it says like "New Party Who Dis." Anyways, but yeah, that's what's happening. And now we're not getting Warriors, so.
We better, because I kickstarted a oversized hardcover for Volume 2, and Volume 2 hasn't even finished in the floppies. Devils do get your shit together.
Yeah.
Just do it.
But hopefully this gets them the income to finish those books. All right, so let's talk about what we're reading. I only had a few books this week. Talking about too many Conan books out there, I did read Savage Conan #2. My favorite quote from a comic book, probably, well, it is March now, so I guess... in the whole month of February, I don't know, is what does Conan say? There's a few really good one-liners in there, but he says wizards bleed too, because they're like, I mean, to stumble upon like these guys who are like mystics and talk about being wizards, and Conan's response is like wizards bleed too, and I'm like, he does have a point. Like they can be magic, but when you hit it with an axe, I mean, magic isn't going to save that.
That book is the perfect example of just do a miniseries, because it's an ongoing in which the creative team is leaving on issue 6, and they're putting in a new creative team.
Right.
So I'm into it for 5 issues because I love Jerry Duggan, and that first issue is really cool. Yeah.
And this, I mean, it doesn't hold... I'm sure after a few more issues, I'll probably get sick of it, but for right now, it's been a fun book. Heroes in Crisis. Are we saving that one for the end?
We are.
Okay. We'll talk about all the spoilers and all that stuff. Oh man. But Freedom Fighters #3.
Oh yeah.
Talk about a book, man. This book, I'm so excited every week it comes out. First off, like the art is amazing. Okay. It's like, and second off, like Nazis, like you're fighting Nazis. Like, come on.
There's no better villain than Nazis.
So obviously they're still talking about this story of how Uncle Sam is maybe back or maybe not back, but then Black Condor, you see some stuff, you see a little bit of his origin where his dad was kind of like killed in front of him as a child, and at a time, well, I guess in their world still, that people of color are treated poorly. Mm-hmm. And then there's kind of this like argument of like the reasons for joining the Freedom Fighters, and like what justifies them. And
yeah, it's a great dichotomy because you got that character who was black and poor and treated unfairly, and then I forget the other character, but one of them was a rich white woman, mm-hmm. and she grew up in kind of a higher class, but she still chose to come fight for the Freedom Fighters. And it was a great back and forth because at the end of the day, we're both fighting for the same great cause. What does it matter why we're here?
Right.
But talk about political satire. This entire issue revolves around them trying to basically influence hope into the American public, because that's how they're going to bring back Uncle Sam, and that's Uncle Sam's going to be the one to save them all.
Yeah.
Everything about this issue was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Huge spoilers for the end here, so fast forward like 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But when they show Adolf Hitler III, and he's just got a body behind him that's hanging on meat hooks, and he's like all excited to go kill the Freedom Fighters, I got chills.
Yeah,
It was such a good
and
ending to the issue.
that's like straight up. If anybody's seen Hellraiser, like it's a guy just like hanging from hooks.
Yeah, so it's like, the third generation Hitler, and he's, I mean, like, this is tough to say because Hitler's a very fucked up individual, but he's more like visibly fucked up because he's just like in a basement somewhere torturing people.
Yeah,
and he gets the news to come fight for his father, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I get to go kill some freedom fighters."
Also, there's a conversation with the Plastic Man and the new heir to the throne.
Adolf Hitler II.
Adolf Hitler II. I can't keep track of which one's which. It's gonna get confusing.
I know
But yeah, they talk about some soups or other villains that we haven't yet to see, like Overman. They talk about, and like they have their version of Superman, but we have yet to see it. So
yeah,
I can't wait.
Such a good book. Like I said, perfect example of this being 12 issues and just being a story, and it's so great. I love it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Thank you, Venditti, for writing this.
Yes. So that's pretty much it for me this week. I actually, what have I read? Oh, I finished volume 2 of Umbrella Academy. It's really good.
Cool.
That's Umbrella Academy Phoenix. It's pretty cool. They talk about like the time travel and how they're going back trying to prevent the whole murder of JFK and all that stuff. I'm almost wondering if that's how they're going to get into the second season. I would assume. Maybe talk about that a little more. And then I actually started Sword Daughter. I'm about halfway through that as of trade. It's really good. It's based in like 800 AD in like Norway, and this man's village is attacked by like these evil this evil clan, and he it's weird. He goes into like meditation for like 10 years. He's a swordsman, and his daughter's just been like kind of near him as she's growing up, and then he kind of wakes up and he's like, yeah, we gotta go take vengeance for our town. So he just decides to wake up like, yeah, let's go kill people now. It's pretty interesting. It's cool though. There's a cool dynamic between the daughter and him, because the daughter doesn't really know language. She just kind of her dialogue is depicted as like almost like emojis and stuff like that, because like she can't really speak well. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, I like it so far. The art is really good, and the art kind of speaks for itself. There isn't a whole lot of reading for it, so it's a good book so far though.
So I'll start with Shazam number 3.
Oh my god, yeah, I had that. I completely forgot to read it. Not gonna lie.
Okay, so credit where credit's due. This is great, Jeff Johns. Right. So I trashed on him relentlessly last week for Doomsday Clock. This is the opposite. Like, this is Jeff Johns at his finest. We get kind of an idea of the different magical realms, and that's definitely going to be the story moving forward, is how each character relates to the magic realm and what to do in there. So I don't want to spoil the ending for anybody, because the ending was really great, but we kind of get an idea that adults aren't welcome in the magic realms, and that moves the story forward for the king to become almost the villain of this arc. But really good. And Eagle Sham's art, amazing. Like,
so good.
He's the perfect person for this book.
So good.
Captain America number 8. I read this like almost a week ago now, and I'm forgetting what happened. Oh yeah, so Cap's in jail, and it's him dealing with jail and what's going on there. And then Sharon Carter is with Kingpin, trying to make a deal and figure out who actually killed Thunderbolt Ross. And then the Supreme Commander, Steve Rogers, which, for all those that remember, during Secret Empire, there turned out to be 2 different Steve Rogers, and one was the Hydra Steve Rogers. That Steve Rogers is now on the loose. And that's pretty much the issue.
Evil Steve Rogers on the loose.
So it was enjoyable. Who's doing the art? Was it Adam Kubert? Yeah, Adam Kubert is one of the best in the industry, and I love his art. So that really makes that book even better. And then The Realm, number 11. The Realm is back. I love this book so much. So we get an idea of what the Red Queen is doing in this world, and she's basically infecting people to take over almost in a zombie-like nature. And meanwhile, our party is learning more about the mysticism in the area. Like, they fight a bunch of ogres who are looking for fairies, and end up going to a bar and, you know, meeting up with these ruffians. And it's just if you like Walking Dead style dystopian future and also really enjoy some Dungeons and Dragons, this is the book for you. It's just so good. And then Invaders, number 2. The long and short of this one is that Steve goes down to Atlantis to try to talk with Namor. And we end up finding out that Namor actually got his new power by stealing it from Hydro Man, everybody's favorite summertime superhero.
Yeah.
And in the process, Namor captures Steve and then lets him go. And there's a whole backdrop of this family that knows all the secrets about Namor and Charles Xavier. And Atlantis decides that they should just kill the family, but Namor is torn because he has a close connection to the father from his time back in World War II. Other than that, I read this trade called The Red 10 that I bought at a con like 2 years ago and never read.
Wow.
And it's a superhero whodunit story. So somebody kills essentially a Batman-esque character in this universe, and the Robin-esque character in this universe finds out, and he gets together the Justice League-esque characters of the universe and goes to find who did it, and they all think it is the Joker-esque character of the universe.
Oh.
And then each issue, a new character dies, and nobody knows who's doing it. So it was the first 5 issues. I really liked it. My only issue with it is I can't find the second volume anywhere, so I'm halfway through it, and I really want closure on it. So if the writer of that is out there, please contact me because I want that damn book.
Awesome.
Other than that, that's everything. So Mike, where can people find you on those internets?
Yeah, if you don't want to stick around for the Heroes in Crisis talk, you can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you, Chris?
Why, they can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter, or you can find me on FortressComicNews.com, where everything Mike and I do is right there on that handy-dandy website. And remember, everybody, if you're listening to our voice, to leave us a review on iTunes, and if you're looking at our okay-looking faces, to give us a thumbs up down below, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and do all that fun stuff. And if you're not sticking around for this riveting Heroes in Crisis talk, I bid you adieu.
I do.
Let's talk about some Heroes in Crisis number 6.
Yeah, so, well, first off, paint me a little indifferent, I guess.
This was definitely number 2 of the one-shots that got folded into the main story.
Yeah. Not a whole lot going on in here, just a lot more. Well, I guess we got to see, like, Batgirl and Harley hanging out in the, or no, I'm sorry, Ivy and Harley. Yep. Ivy and Harley hanging out in the, I don't know, like, she's trying to make her feel better about Joker and trying to help her. We get this, like, Conan character. Well, I've never seen before. I don't know if you've ever seen him before.
It was like a caveman that got frozen.
Yeah, Narc. So I didn't really understand what was going on there, honestly. I think the biggest... Okay, you could talk about it.
The Narc side of the story I didn't enjoy. It was kind of like... Right. I get what they were going for, but it wasn't for me. The part of the story I did enjoy, though, and that I thought needed to be talked about, was the Wally West part of the story. So for every page that Narc had, Wally West had the opposite page for most of the book. And it was all about Wally coming back from DC Rebirth and basically reminding all the heroes of who they are and creating this new timeline that we're in.
Yeah.
And how everybody was so happy to see him because Wally brought back the universe, but he still has lost everything. So it's him dealing with that depression of like everybody loves him, but he
doesn't have everyone.
Yeah, he's depressed to the core because his entire family is gone. And I thought that was important to point out. And it didn't really matter what book to me, but just needed to for continuity's sake. And then we get to the end, and we kind of get the smoking gun.
Oh yeah, so the big reveal, isn't it, of at least who kills Wally?
Yeah,
and it shows Harley Quinn walking in on Booster Gold killing Wally. So, and Harley says, "I'm not supposed to be here," and then Booster Gold says, "Cool, where are you supposed to be?" But like, I feel like it's not Booster Gold still. I don't know.
That's kind of when I finished reading it. I remember just looking at him and like doubling down, like it's still not Booster Gold. Like,
yeah, like they show him killing Wally, and even if he did kill Wally, like why the surprise when he finds out that like it's not the right Wally, right? Or when they analyze his body.
Yeah, it's a time displaced Wally.
Yeah, but it could be because of the rebirth thing. He's time displaced. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's super confusing.
Right. And then so they do show Booster Gold. And then the last page is just more interviews of
just random ass heroes.
Random heroes, which is kind of like, I don't know why it ended there and not not at the Booster Gold reveals, kind of I don't know. Kind of weird.
The only thing I can think of is they talk about how many people they've saved over the years.
Yeah.
And they all have a different interpretation. And that moment is obviously important and is going to be shifted somehow.
Right.
Because I don't think Wally did it, and I don't think Harley did it.
You don't think Booster did it?
I don't think Booster did it. So whenever I think Tom King's doing a great job of weaving the story, because whenever he answers a question and pushes me one way, he comes out with something else, and it just kind of does the opposite.
Like, maybe Booster's doing this to save people or something?
Or maybe that's not really Walt. Like, I don't even know. I can't even...
Yeah.
It's just so... It's a great story.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, this is a weaker issue, I think. So
yeah, half of this issue I could have done without.
Yeah,
I think you could have dove deeper into the whole Wally thing and got rid of the caveman story. But
because the whole reveal too is kind of just random. Like, they're okay. Oh, now we're gonna flash forward to the night of the incident, and Harley's there, and this is who did it.
So it did do one thing successfully that every issue of the story has done so far, and it makes me want the next issue.
Right, for sure.
So yeah, probably the weakest of the series, but I love this series altogether. So it is what it is.
All right. Well, for all you crazy listeners that stuck around for Heroes of Crisis, thanks, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.